11 hours behind the wheel. But the load doesn't wait.
Right now, somewhere in America, a truck driver is circling a parking lot for the 4th time. It's 11 p.m. His hours are almost up, and every single spot is taken. He has 2 choices left: pull onto the shoulder of an interstate and risk a $500 fine, or take the last open spot. In the one lot, every trucker on the CB radio calls by a nickname you don't want to know. Tonight, he's going to pick the lot. Here's the number. Nobody in trucking wants to say out loud, America has 1 truck parking space for every 11 drivers. Not 11 trucks, 11 drivers, all trying to squeeze into the same spot every single night. And when there's nowhere safe to park, safe stops being a choice. It becomes whatever's left. So tonight, we're not ranking truck stops by star reviews or app ratings. We're ranking them by something the industry actually tracks: cargo theft data, federal parking surveys, and insurance claims, broken into the 5 types of danger that actually get drivers hurt. Because once you understand the type, you can spot it anywhere in the country, not just at the 20 exits somebody else already leaked. Let's get into it. Part 1. The number behind everything. 045 to 215. Before we name a single exit, you need to understand why this list even exists. The U.S. has roughly 313,000 marked truck parking spaces nationwide. A federal survey of nearly 11,700 drivers found 98% of them had trouble finding safe parking in their normal operating area. And the average public rest stop? Just 19 spaces, sometimes as few as 15 in the Northeast. Do the math, and you get 1 publicly available truck space for every 11 drivers on the road. That's not a rumor truckers tell each other on the radio. That's the U.S. Department of Transportation's own numbers. So every night, thousands of drivers are making the same impossible choice: pull onto a shoulder, or an on-ramp illegally, or take a spot in a lot they already have a bad feeling about. The shortage isn't a background detail in this video. It's the entire mechanism. Criminal crews don't need a security failure. They just need predictable freight sitting still, and the parking shortage guarantees it will. Keep that number in your head. 1 space for 11 drivers. Because every single location we talk about tonight only exists because of it. Part 2. Danger. Type 1. The staging trap. 2:15 to 5:30. The first type of danger zone isn't a bad neighborhood. It's a good location that turns into a trap because of scheduling. Here's how it works. You arrive at a distribution hub at 9 p.m. for an 8 a.m. dock appointment. Dispatch tells you to stage close. Close means the industrial strip just outside the gate, because the receiver won't let you in early and there's nowhere else nearby to legally park a loaded 53-foot trailer overnight. Cargo security firms have started calling this out by name instead of by city. Overhaul, one of the largest cargo theft intelligence companies in the industry, has specifically flagged corridors around Atlanta's Western Industrial Belt and the outer rings of Chicago and the Inland Empire as places where staging, not driving, not sleeping, just waiting, is the highest risk activity a driver does all week. Illinois is a textbook example of how fast this can escalate. CargoNet data shows Indiana's cargo theft climbed roughly 30% in a single year, largely tied to the intermodal rail-to-road handoff points around the Chicago-Gary corridor, where trailers sit for hours waiting on both rail and road capacity at the same time. The fix isn't complicated, it's just inconvenient. Call the receiver directly and ask if they allow staging inside their own gated yard overnight. Most drivers never ask. The ones who do get a locked lot instead of an open street. If they say no, burn the extra fuel to get to a real secured lot, even if it costs you an hour of sleep. Because an hour of sleep is cheaper than an empty trailer. Part 3. Danger. Type 2. The value magnet, 5:30 to 9. The second type has nothing to do with geography and everything to do with what's inside your trailer. 2025 was the year cargo crews got selective. CargoNet's annual analysis recorded just over 2,600 confirmed cargo thefts in the US and Canada. Actually, a modest number compared to prior years. But the average value stolen per theft jumped 36% to just under $274,000. Total losses hit an estimated $725 million, a 60% jump in a single year. Same number of hits, far bigger scores. What are they after? Enterprise electronics, RAM modules, storage drives, server blades, fiber optic equipment, shipments that can clear $1 million sitting inside what looks like an ordinary dry van. Food and beverage theft also jumped nearly 47% in a single year, because a truckload of branded snacks or protein has no serial number and a buyer lined up by morning. Geographically, California still carries the heaviest share of this, roughly a third to nearly 40% of all national incidents, depending on whose data set you check, concentrated around the Inland Empire's distribution wall, along the 10 and the 60 freeways. But the real story of 2025 was the shift. Los Angeles County theft actually dropped 11%. Kern County, Pistachio and Almond Country, hours north, spiked 82%. San Joaquin County jumped 44%. The crews didn't disappear. They followed the freight north when the coast got too hot. If you're pulling anything with a barcode that resells fast, electronics, name brand food, agricultural product with no chip or tracker, assume you're being priced from the moment you leave the shipper's gate. The old trucking rule still holds. Don't take your first overnight stop for at least 150 to 200 miles on a high-value load. Distance is the cheapest security system you'll ever use. Part 4. Danger. Type 3. The paper trap, 9 to 12:30. This is the one that should scare owner-operators more than any parking lot ever could, because you can do everything right and still lose the load. The FBI issued a public warning in 2026 about cyber-enabled freight fraud, criminal groups breaking into carrier and broker email systems, spoofing legitimate company domains, and rerouting real freight to fake pickup addresses using paperwork that looks completely normal. Some crews have gone further, compromising a carrier's actual phone system so a shipper calling to verify the driver gets a criminal answering with the real company's caller ID. Border cities are ground zero for this. Laredo, Texas, the largest land port on the southern border, has seen crews use decoy GPS trackers and fraudulent double brokering to have freight voluntarily handed over by drivers who believed they were dealing with a legitimate dispatcher. Nothing was broken into. Nobody cut a lock. The load just walked away on paper. Overhaul's own Q1 2026 report found deceptive pickup schemes. Exactly this kind of fraud, up 31% year over year. This isn't a shrinking problem. It's the fastest growing category in the entire industry right now. At the same time, overall theft incident counts were actually falling. The rule here is uncomfortable because it slows you down. If a load gets rerouted mid-trip, or a broker chain suddenly has one name too many in it, stop. Call a number you looked up yourself, not one texted to you, and verify before you hand off a single pallet. 20 minutes of awkward phone calls beats losing your operating authority over a load you never should have released. Part 5. Danger. Type 4. The human cost. 12:30 to 15:30. The fourth type isn't about cargo at all. It's about what a chronic parking shortage does to exhausted human beings. ATRI's own research ties the parking shortage directly to driver fatigue and stress. Over 90% of surveyed drivers say the shortage measurably hurts their quality of life on the road, and it now ranks as one of the top concerns in the entire industry, ahead of pay and even the driver shortage itself. That's not a minor inconvenience stat. That's drivers telling researchers in large numbers that this specific problem is wearing them down. And the math is brutal when you think it through. When there's one legal spot for every 11 drivers, competition for that spot becomes inevitable on any given night, in any given lot. Multiply thousands of tired people making split-second decisions around 80,000-pound vehicles, and you get an entirely different kind of risk than cargo theft, one that has nothing to do with crime and everything to do with exhaustion and scarcity colliding in the same parking lot. This is also the type of danger that geography can't protect you from. A quiet rural exit and a dense urban corridor carry the same underlying pressure once every legal space fills up by early evening. The only difference is how fast help can respond if something goes wrong. The takeaway here isn't a location. It's a habit. Stop earlier than you want to, even if it costs you miles, because the driver who parks at 6 p.m. never has to compete for a spot at 11 p.m.